Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dave, and this is Mind Ride, a channel to discuss living life with cancer, specifically the type of cancer I have, multiple myeloma. It's a bone cancer. Today, I'll start a series about my experience with chemotherapy. It's not exactly chemotherapy. The drugs are a little different, but, for all intents and purposes, chemotherapy. To start with, when you have cancer, there's three things they might do to treat you. Generally, there's other things in specific situations, but overall, most of us are going to experience radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery. Multiple myeloma doesn't really work with surgery, so that's kind of out of the question with us. Multiple myeloma is cancer that's in the bone itself, so surgery doesn't help. They can't take the bone out. But for many people, they will have surgery or radiation first and then do chemotherapy after that. Because I had a plasmacytoma of multiple myeloma, it was just in one place and they thought it might not spread, so they left it alone after radiation. They just blasted it with radiation. It stopped growing and they left it at that. Now, my problem was that a few months later, it came back in another place, showing them that it was multiple myeloma, not just a plasmacytoma. So as the cancer is spreading, that means I need to treat it differently. Most people with multiple myeloma, when they start treatment, they will receive chemotherapy and radiation treatment at the same time because the two work well together. But make no mistake, chemotherapy is poison in your body that's there to kill things. It's not to make you healthier. It's there to kill things hurting you. It's there to kill the cancer. I'm not an expert. I'm going to try to explain as much as I know right now. So I begin chemotherapy possibly this week. This is actually the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Chemotherapy is when you have drugs that you take or drugs that they put in your vein at the hospital. And if you go to the hospital for your first few checkups and stuff in the beginning of this process, you'll probably see a room off to the side with a lot of people sitting in comfortable chairs. They'll be on their phones or reading or looking out the window or listening to music. And there's a large machine next to them and there's a tube running into their arm. Those people are getting chemotherapy. The machines are pumping them with chemicals. I'm not exactly sure why they need the machine because some forms of chemotherapy, we just take a pill like once a week. This process will take 6 months. The first 4 are very busy. The 2 after that, I won't be as busy. I'll be able to do other things. When I found out I needed to do chemotherapy, my doctor took out a piece of paper and started writing on it. And he wrote like a lecturer, like he had main headings and subheadings. And my doctor never actually wrote anything out for me before. I have the piece of paper right here. I knew it was important when this thing showed up. He even drew some things on the back. This is my doctor sitting next to me writing this stuff out on the paper. If the doctor gets out a sheet of paper and starts explaining things like a teacher, you know you're in for it. It's actually good. It's not a bad thing. My doctor is a teacher. He teaches students how to treat this type of cancer at the university where my hospital is. So I'm happy that there's headings and things on here. These are the names of drugs I'll be taking. These are concerns and side effects and things like that. As the doctor was going through, he was telling me what to expect. I was asking questions like, how will my life be? What will I be able to do? What will I not be able to do? The general idea is this. It's going to be really bad. Not bad enough to kill me, but it's not going to be fun. There are many side effects listed that are uncomfortable and unpleasant, but are bearable. For instance, I might have constipation or diarrhea throughout much of the process. This might be different for you. I don't know about which drugs you'll be taking, but diarrhea, constipation are pretty common, and neuropathy, which is the one that I've always been the most afraid of. Neuropathy is when you have tingling or pain in your hands and feet. In really bad cases, it can be permanent. That's something that's scary. The doctor told me they'll monitor me closely to make sure that the neuropathy is not getting too bad, and apparently this is something they can manage. Another problem is blood clots, unfortunately. Blood clots are when the blood gets into a ball inside your vein. It can get jammed into some place and stop the blood flow. Bad situation, you have a leg that's turning purple. Worse situation, it gets jammed in your heart or your brain and you have a heart attack or a stroke. I'll have to be on blood thinners, which means I'll bleed very easily, which is bad for me because I do a lot of things with my hands. I have scabs on my fingers right now from the things I do with my hands. For most people, I think this might be a real concern. I don't know how long I'm going to have to hold a cut to make it stop bleeding, things like that. The only other choice is to just live with the chance of getting a blood clot in your brain, and you don't want that because you could die from that. One of these drugs is a kind of steroid. A little background on steroids. I was given steroids once for one side of my sacrum and again for the other side of my sacrum because the cancer in the sacrum was crushing my sciatic nerve. So they had to shrink the cancer so that I wouldn't have so much pain. The first time they gave me steroids, I was okay. I didn't really hardly notice it and it worked fantastically. The pain went away. The second time they gave me steroids was for a much less painful pain on the other side. It didn't work as well. The pain never went fully away. But the worst part is that I was just mentally in a rage the whole time. Like I was so angry at everyone. I was like the bad guy in a movie. And I managed to keep it under wraps. I didn't really lash out at anybody during that time, but it was a constant mental effort. I sometimes talk about mental defenses. My mental defenses were functioning. I was able to stop my reactions before I spoke. And that was the best I could do. I couldn't fight the feeling. I was only able to silence myself. Thank goodness, because the things I wanted to say were just terrible. And I never wanted to take steroids again. And I told the doctor about that. And the doctor said we can talk about it and monitor and try to make sure it stays okay. Here's the worst part, the worst side effect. I will be susceptible to all illnesses. I won't have any immunity. My immunity is going to be totally dead for the entire 6 months. So they told me I have to stay away from people for 6 months. I can't be in contact with anyone. If I go out or go anywhere, I need to wear a mask. So basically COVID rules. We're all used to it now. The good thing is when I tell it to people, they'll know exactly what I can do. It's COVID rules. They all know that they have to stay away from me. But I'm going to have to be serious about COVID rules because right now, nobody cares about COVID anymore, even though it's worse than it was 2 years ago. But nobody's paying attention anymore, so that means they're up in your face again. And I'm going to have to wear a mask all the time, which is bad for me because I really hate the masks. I always did. I wore them, but I hate them. I won't be able to be with any people, no friends or anything. No one's going to be able to come by and see me. One thing that concerns me is if I have a problem, if I'm for some reason in a bad way and I can't get out of bed or something, no one's going to be able to come over and help me because they might make me worse. That's a little concerning for that reason. So that's my paper. The doctor also gave me some little books that explain some of the drugs I'll be on. Revlimid, dexamethasone, Velcade. I won't get into what's in these books, but I wanted to show them to you because when the doctor showed me this one here, he was talking about Revlimid and I was holding it in my hand and looking at this couple on the front cover. Each one of these has a couple on the front cover. This couple looks particularly young to me, like they just started life. I guess they're not that young. They're probably in their 40s or something. I was holding this, looking at this picture when the doctor told me that this drug is rather expensive. It costs $20,000 a month. When he told me $20,000, I was looking at this couple. I had the book in my hand like this, thinking how terrifying it is to hear that kind of number when you're sitting next to someone you love and you're afraid that they might die. And then you find out that their course of treatment will cost more than your house. I got a little choked up about it. Just the thought of people coming up against that price tag. I always think about that because insurance is paying for my cancer treatments. There is no way I'd be able to afford it otherwise. The doctors already told me I had $250,000 worth of treatment up until now. They asked me, do you own any property? I said no, and they said good, you wouldn't anymore if you did. That comes into my mind. I worry about other people, and just looking at this couple and thinking about that, I almost wept. Anyways, this week I will start my treatments. I'll be going in and it'll be my first time. So they're going to talk to me and explain things to me. I'll see some nurses and they had another person and somebody who's like a doctor. I'll be seeing those people. I won't be seeing my doctor, which is kind of scary, but you know, your doctor doesn't come to everything. The really sad thing for me is that this is the end of my life before drug treatments. I will be on drugs, not exactly these ones, but similar for the rest of my life. And the doctor told me that. The point is to stop the cancer from growing, but they found that if I do all the drugs and keep doing them, there's a 50% chance this cancer will never return. And if I do a bone marrow transplant later, that goes up to 80%. So I have to take these drugs the rest of my life to give myself a better chance to stay in remission and not have it progress. So what that means is whatever side effects I have from these drugs, I will have for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I'll be taking expensive drugs, dealing with the side effects and the limits to my life. These few days between now and my first treatments are the last period of my life that I'm not going to be on those drugs. When I realized that, I wanted to do more. I wanted to go out. I wanted to see people. I wanted to have fun. But because of everything happening in my life and in the world, there's no one around me. There's no one to go out and enjoy these last few moments. It's okay, but it is something I thought about. If you know somebody who's about to go through this, you don't have to push people. You don't have to drag them out. Just offer and be there. It would be nice if somebody just came by and took me out for a bagel, or just wanted to sit even out front and chat for a minute. Little events. I don't want to go skydiving. I don't want to go deep sea diving. I don't want to go hang gliding. It's more that I would just like to have some normal things. Just experience the moment with my surroundings as best I can. I hope that information is somehow useful. I'll come back and repost on this topic as time goes on and I can tell you more. Good luck to everyone and be well.